about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So every year I get a listener that asks me, what is my favorite medical show? And my answer has always been Scrubs. It really has. And not only because it was fun, but because there was a lot of accuracy. You could tell that it was written by people who had medical background or there was some, a connection to the writers and people in medicine, because it was just, it just took me back to my training. And so Scrubs has always been my favorite. Maybe in the 90s, ER. I thought ER was good, but gosh, ER, they had a lot of lovey-dovey, and there had to be relationships between, with Julianne Margulies and George Clooney. And then there was, but I thought they did a damn good job with ER. I never had a chance to watch House, so I'm sure House was probably pretty good. But I don't, and I never saw St. Elsewhere. I think that was a little bit before my time. So basically Scrubs has been number one. But I got to tell you, what's now going into number two, now and bouncing ER off a little bit, is The Pitt. I really like The Pitt. So I started watching that, and it's really good. I like The Pitt a lot. And I think the reason why I like it is they kind of do what they did in 24, where the show you're watching is supposed to be real time in an hour. So I don't know if you guys remember 24 with Kiefer Sutherland, but the whole show would happen, every episode would happen within an hour. And so of that hour, and then it would end, 11:59, 12 o'clock. And so, and then the next episode was then the next hour. Love that concept. And I don't understand why more shows didn't do the 24 concept. Maybe 24 got it from another show, but I've always thought that was fantastic with 24. And if they're ever going to redo another series, do another 24, because that was brilliant. Well, The Pitt does that, where it's like an hour in real time in an ER in Pittsburgh. Now, which they call The Pit, which you're not supposed to. And it's really interesting because they have the accuracy and the realism of it, where you have an amazing charge nurse that's kind of organizing and on top of everything. And so you got the, hospital administrators and the bean people. You have, the patients and the wide personalities of them, just like you had with ER and other shows. And then you have the hierarchy of the attending versus the senior residents versus then the medical students. And everybody casted does an amazing job. In fact, we have a friend whose daughter is an extra in the show. So, big shout out to the Kinsess for that. So, but what I really, really like about it is many people look at doctors as we just golf, it's all about the money. It's all about and so seeing a medical perspective, but from a realistic standpoint, is, I think, extremely important. And so, because I get patients who are just so mean. They're so insulting. They're so, and you're like, do you understand how difficult my job is? I mean, when I was an ER doc, people grabbing my ass, grabbing my boobies, trying to hit me when they were coming out of whatever they were coming out of, yelling at me for there being a long wait. And I get it. You bite your tongue because you understand that people are exhausted. They're in pain. They're not going to be all happy. I understand when people get grumpy, but there's one thing to be grumpy and in pain. I've been in pain. I don't insult and I don't grab people's genitals. I mean, there are lines. And so when you watch The Pit, I'm almost done with first season. I haven't gone to second season, which, by the way, they won Golden Globe Awards. Both Noah Wiley won for The Doctor. He does a fantastic job as Dr. Robbie in this. And then they also won for Best Drama Series. Fantastic. I think that is well deserved. And it's really, really good because they show the breadth of and it's diverse, and they show and it's like a real ER. It's pretty damn realistic. And so I'm impressed with that. But I like doctor shows. People say in medicine, I talk to other medical professionals like, oh, I hate these shows because then a patient comes in thinking they have Wilson's, or they watch House and then they think they have something esoteric and they demand that we do testing for it. And I don't mind that. Educate yourself, because if you do have something esoteric, you're probably going to be the one to think about it before the doctor, because we doctors are trained to look for horses and not zebras. I like to look for zebras because I don't want to get caught thinking I just looked for a horse. But I don't mind that. And I think people educating themselves and understanding what happens. I do disagree. There was somebody that got Narcan and she acted like she was fine and ready to go. And I think she left within an hour and a half time. I mean, we might watch them a little bit longer. Sometimes they need more Narcan. But look, this isn't supposed to be a documentary. It's supposed to be a drama. So if patients understand and take it with a grain of salt that there might be some creative flexibility, and with some of the some of the content, I don't mind, and seeing what the ER is like and why there's a line. I think that's one thing that The Pit in season 1 does a great job of. You see the waiting room, just hours upon hours of waiting, and the patients are sitting there getting pissed off. But you understand why during the ER, you got somebody you're hovering over having a cardiac issue, or somebody else having a psychotic episode, or there's no beds for them to be moved out. And then you'll see triage go, well, look, I can at least put you in this area, address what you have, and get you out of here. We just don't have a bed for you. I mean, that happens. Sometimes that's what, I had to take care of people in the hallway. I had to take care of people sitting up against a wall because there was no beds. If there's no beds, there's no beds. And then, when we're going to probably see a little bit more of hospital administrator come down. And then you see, the back and forth. And both people have good arguments. But, ER is very limited to what the Bean people allow them to do. And then there's, so I think it's a great show. I'm a huge fan. I think every medical student should watch it. So, if you're a medical student, resident, I think you should watch it when you have time. Assuming you have time. You have a much lighter schedule than we did because you don't have 36-hour shifts. But if you do have time, watch it. Good show. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So the Supreme Court is going to this year look at transgender bans in sports, and if it's constitutional and against somebody's First Amendment right. The Supreme Court is going to, I believe, start hearing the debate on 2 cases starting tomorrow, looking at whether transgender girls, those who are biologically male, identifying as female, should be allowed to participate in girls' and women's sports. There are 2 cases, one from Idaho and one from West Virginia, where federal courts have blocked state laws that would have prohibited trans girls from participating on teams. So because the states have bans, but the federal court is now blocking the bans, it's ending up moving now to Supreme Courts. They said the outcome of these cases, according to ABC News, will determine the fate of those laws and similar measures in 27 other states. There are an estimated 122,000 transgender American teens who participate in high school sports. Now, this is according to data from the Williams Institute at UCLA Law. Now, you see, that's fascinating because we have heard time and time again that we're only talking about a handful of maybe one or two kids. We are looking at 122,000 individuals. Now, are some of them biological female wanting to compete in biological male settings? Could be, but we're assuming that the majority of them are biological male, now identifying as a female, wanting to now be on the female sport, which then gives them access also to locker rooms. And I don't want to say every transgender is a pervert, but this is why there's laws, because Title IX prior to Biden was about protecting a woman's privacy, protecting sexual harassment, ensuring that they, had a safe space in which they were naked. I mean, these are things that were, supposed to be a part of Title IX. If not, the violation of such was, so serious that a school could lose their federal funding. Now it's the opposite. If a school does not offer a means by which a biological male can enter a female bathroom or locker room or a female sport, now it's the opposite. And so it was just a matter of time when the Supreme Court would get involved. And even though Trump did an executive order saying, biological males are not allowed, female sports, et cetera, unfortunately, it's not that easy. And there's, I guess, going to be a lot of legal questioning of that. They say lower courts have concluded that if you ban a biological male identifying as a transgender female on the basis of sex, that is now a violation of Title IX. This is a civil rights law that has promoted equal opportunities for women and girls in athletics. And so we went from women having safe spaces where they were naked and being able to compete without a male being, a competitor, to now if you don't allow them in that space, now that's discrimination and a Title IX. So Title IX has kind of gone through some changes, which is very confusing from a school standpoint. That's why I said what schools are probably going to have to do from a bathroom and locker room and shower perspective is single use. Because, even though many of us, we had to undress and change in a locker room, and that's just what we had to do. And, we, with nudity and all that, it's, other countries, people go to nude beaches. They don't look at nudity like we do. But if a school doesn't know where they're violating Title IX, if they're allowing a male in the locker room or not, then single use showers, single use bathrooms. And that's probably going to then at least get the school from a bathroom and safe space aspect of it protected. So the states are asking justices to overturn the decisions and allow their laws to be reinstated because federal judges are blocking them. They're saying sex and gender identity are not synonymous when it comes to women athletics and allowing transgender girls to compete against cisgender girls, and that's unfair and unsafe. According to West Virginia Attorney General John McCuskey, it really comes down to one simple question. Is it legal and constitutional for states to delineate their athletic playing fields based on the immutable physical characteristics that people have that are associated with their sex assigned at birth? So what are the two cases? Well, Becky Pepper Jackson is a high school sophomore from Bridgeport, West Virginia. She competes in discus and shot put, and she's a part of track and field. So she brought the legal challenge to her state's law in 2021. She is the only known openly trans athlete in West Virginia in any sport, according to ABC News. She says someone has to do it. Somebody has to do this for all of us. Otherwise, the laws and bills are just going to stand. Now, the shot put, obviously men, biological male, do better than biological females. So then what laws protect the females from being able to compete? Another thing, too, that has also changed is sports have become extremely lucrative. And student athletes, college student athletes especially, can make a lot of money. And you have many individuals where I believe the true transgender is not doing it for financial gain. They're doing it because they want to live a life as a female or male. But when you see cases like Leah Thomas, it's suspicious. Somebody is losing on one team And if they're able to go to the female side, they now get gold medals. They now can get, they can get endorsements. And so is that fair? They say transgender athletes make up just over 1% of more than 8 million teenage students nationwide. Now, Idaho college student Lindsay Hecox is a former track and cross-country runner. She was barred from trying out for the female school teams. I don't think she's biologically male, I believe, identifies as female. And so she sued over the state's ban back in 2020. Now, she asked the court to drop her case because she no longer wished to compete in sports and didn't want to be in the spotlight. However, according to ABC News, Idaho fought to keep the case alive. So, I agree. If she, doesn't want to be a part of a case and she's not a criminal, the case need to continue to go on. But I'm not sure if there was something else that happened as a result. And so now the state wants to go to the Supreme Court saying, look, we tried to protect female athletes. This happened. A federal judge intervened. We need to know that a federal judge is not going to intervene again. And it's a real shame because you do have individuals who do not identify. And it's not easy for them to do that. But as I've always looked at everything, as it pertains to sex, as it pertains to smoking, as it pertains to your identity, you could do and be whoever you want. Just you can't let it affect other people around you. You want to be a smoker, but don't smoke in front of other people and have them breathe it in. You don't need to be taxed more. You don't need to be discriminated against. Just do your smoking where it doesn't affect other people. You want to dance naked to loud music? You could do that in the privacy of your home. But if you want to dance naked outside where it affects other people, that's a problem. Same thing with cussing. You want to cuss, and boy, do I cuss. You want to cuss and in your home, that's fine. But when there's little kids around and you're saying some pretty, pretty disgusting things, no. And then same thing, who you want to sleep with and who you want to be close to is, that's between you and your partner. But, does everybody else have to be, involved in that? I mean, PDA, public display of affection. My husband and I, we wouldn't sit there and make out in front of people because why, other people don't want to have to see that. It's if you want to kiss. I don't mind public displays of affection. But again, we were of the thinking how me and my husband want to be is why subject other people to it? People are trying to watch a movie and we're going to make out in front of them. Let them watch the movie. And then same thing, if you want to identify as a male or as a female, and that's something you want to do, and you're not being coerced and you're of age, and that is your prerogative. But if it's now going to affect other people because it now intervenes with their sport and their ability to be able to compete, that's a problem. And so, this is something that I really do believe the Supreme Court will say, look, as it pertains to sports, as it pertains to locker rooms, biological males be where they are, biological females be where they are, have their own category. And we might have to do sports like we do with WWE or boxing where it's weight and size. And then that might help a little bit, but there's such distinct differences between male and female. If females are getting hurt, competing against a male, there has to be protections for them. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
In many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com.
Hot Shot Secret. Powered by science.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years, stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So New York hospitals are about to see one of the biggest strikes in history. 15,000 nurses are now striking as they are not seeing any light at the end of the tunnel as it pertains to contract negotiations. This is the largest nursing strike in New York City's history. The hospital locations impacted of the strike include Mount Sinai Morningside, Mount Sinai West, Montefiore Hospital, and New York Presbyterian Hospital. Apparently, their contract expired on December 31st. The union says it wants higher pay, an increase in staff to manage patients, fully funded benefits, and better workplace protections against violence for its members. But they're not wrong. These are valid requests. Now, people are asking how much are they making and how much more do they want? I don't know if we have that much information. We're being told that some of the nurses, the registered nurses, are making $133,913. Other sources are saying they're making $120,000. Most of the contracts have their starting pay for RNs or registered nurses, not nurse practitioners. We're talking about RNs at about $120,000. But some in the system may be making $93,000. But nursing assistants might make about like $25, $30 an hour. But according to Google, registered nurses could make anywhere from $90,000 to $140,000. Critical care Nurses 130 to 140,000 a year. Nurse practitioner over 131. Labor and delivery nurses 1,700 a week or $40 an hour. They should get paid more than that. Nurses aides anywhere from 24 to 25 an hour. So New York, one of the most expensive places to live, are going to have the highest paid nurses. But is that enough to live in New York? Well, where's Mamdani? Well, Mamdani is with the nurses. At 6 a.m. when waves of nurses walked off the job, they raised their voices in the dark, banged drums, blew whistles. According to Eyewitness ABC7 and Mayor Zohran Mamdani did stand with the nurses. And he did call their fight a battle for dignity, fairness, and future of the city's healthcare system. So I know a lot of people get mad at nurses for doing this. How could they? They're nurses. As a doctor, and I see how underpaid and overworked nurses are, you can't pay them enough. These nurses do so much that it's a six-figure salary for a nurse is not unjustifiable. I think it's completely validated, and they should be making a decent amount of money for what they go. I mean, I talk about how I kept getting groped. These nurses all the time, what they put up with patients and doctors and other staff. I mean, the abuse they get. No wonder we have nursing shortages. People don't want that, especially after COVID when people could work at home while watching Netflix, but nurses had to be boots on the ground. And then they got fired for not taking a COVID vaccine. I don't blame them for asking for more money. But it is a little hard to understand how somebody who has devoted their life for patients will walk off the job. And then, and then individuals who need care. What ends up happening? Well, the hospitals have they have backup plans where they can hire nurses, and there are that are non-contract to fill in the gaps. It's not ideal. You want the nurses who are trained. You want the nurses that know the system, that have relationships with the doctors and the hospital administrator, et cetera. You want copacetic. You want the contract nurses, back, and paid and happy back at the jobs. So because many people say, Dahlia, why aren't they just hiring the out of the country nurses or whomever and just staff and then save the money? The problem we have also is, healthcare costs are going up. And one of the biggest driving factors, it's not the CEO's salary. CEOs make a boatload, but that's not what's driving up the cost of healthcare. It's the staff. People always ask me, Dahlia, will I go back and open up my practice? Because insurance companies aren't paying with the high deductibles Obamacare, and because patients aren't paying, no, I couldn't afford staff. Staff needs to make close to six figures. So I won't make that money. So I just won't reopen my clinic. Money has to come in order for you to pay the staff. Now, hospitals, they have some issues. If they're taking care of migrants and individuals who are not paying, the money isn't coming in. And you saw what happened with Denver Hospital. With Denver Hospital, they needed the state to give them, I think, at least $2 million because just money was not coming in. Now, I don't know much about these hospitals. I mean, we're being told that, their CEO, does really well. I don't know much about who is the CEO of, Mount Sinai Hospital. I don't know. And didn't one of them have a shooting recently? But according to Mamdani, the CEO of Montefiore made more than $16 million last year, and the CEO of New York Presbyterian made $26 million. He said, but too many nurses can't make ends meet. Yeah, I just don't understand the CEOs getting the millions and millions of dollars. People say, well, you got to pay CEO or nobody will want to be CEO. Fine. We don't need the CEOs. We need the nurses. But then how much more can we pay if we're already paying $130,000 and that's not enough? As much as we could take, millions of dollars off the annual salary of the CEO, that's still not going to cover the extra salaries. And so I mean, obviously, if a hospital system doesn't make ends meet, they go under. And if the CEO is making that kind of money, well, I guess they're not going under. Now, I've never been a CEO of a hospital, but my guess is you're trying to bring in donors. You're trying to figure out how to, maximize insurance reimbursement. You're trying to attract individuals who aren't going to not pay. You're going to try to make contracts with insurance companies so that those people pay so you get insurance money in. I mean, there's work that has to be done. CEOs have to do work. Is it $26 million worth of work? But for nurses wanting their pensions to be safeguarded, not being attacked, there being more security, there being more nurses so they don't feel like they have to overwork, that's absolutely reasonable for them to ask. And if $130,000 salary isn't enough because they're in New York, then we have to pay them more. So the mayor said the city is working to protect both patients and healthcare workers during the strike. He urged hospital executive and union leaders to return to the bargaining table immediately. And then New York Governor Kathy Hochul declared a state of emergency, saying this could jeopardize the lives of thousands of New Yorkers and patients. Keep in mind, we're in the peak of flu season. Contract negotiation. The nurses didn't pick this on purpose. The contract was supposed to be renewed December 31st. It wasn't. So here we are. Now with high hospitalizations, this is, so I get it. I get it. It's just, unfortunately, our hospital system is so broken. They say hospitals like Mount Sinai have hired 1,000 agency nurses to help combat any disruptions. So these hospitals will have staff, but again, it's not the staff that you want that you're already used to and trained. Now, Northwell hospitals on Long Island have already reached an agreement to avert a strike. So other hospitals are going to be okay. But this happens every year, and it's going to happen in California again. It's going to happen, whenever there's contract negotiations. If the raise and isn't enough, and if there will be strikes, that happens. And if they believe that the hospital is making more money than they are, which is why you have to be transparent. If they see what money's come in, if they see that Obamacare deductibles is really hurting, and if they see people aren't paying their bills and what's being spent, I think their ask is going to be, shall we say, practical. But we cannot underpay our nurses. That stops. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away. We are back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So more video footage of different angles of what happened during the Minnesota riot, where Renee Nicole Good was shot in her van as it appeared she was racing towards an ICE agent. More video footage has now shown angles where you could see that one of the ICE agents could have been mortally wounded, and that it wasn't that people were just shooting her, because she was running away. It was that there was an agent that looks like he was about to be run over. And even Representative Ilhan Omar even now acknowledges that, even though she said, well, no one was run over, she even acknowledges that there was, and that the agent, Jonathan John Ross, and the officer, was in a falls to the ground. Yeah. And that was at risk. And so where I'm kind of really frustrated, and I think we all see this, is we're all kind of watching the same videos. And I talk to a lot of people on this. Many people say, well, I saw all the videos I need to see. She was an innocent woman and they assassinated her. And then you have other individuals going, she backs up and then she guns her car. There's somebody in front of her. They told her to get out of the car. She leaves her partner. She's gunning her car, could hit the person in front of her, and they stopped her. And it's just tragic. Nobody agrees that anybody should have died. Nobody should die. But also, I don't understand why everybody isn't also in agreement that she shouldn't have been gunning her car where it could run over and kill somebody. And then, why also isn't the country in agreement that she shouldn't have been there agitating and she could have been in a safe place? Why is she using her car as a weapon, as a barricade? And, you're hearing from so many sources that people are getting paid to be there. They're being bussed in. This was her neighborhood, I think, so she was there. But from what we understand, she moved there a year prior, and she was a part of a school where her kid goes for social activism. I think her kid's only 6. And so she joined a group for social activism. And listen, social activism can be a very good thing until you do things illegal, until you put you or other people in harm's way. She leaves her partner in the dust when she races her SUV away from officers. Now, somebody can claim, well, she feared for her life. So that's why she wasn't thinking about her lifelong partner. That's why she wasn't thinking about the ICE agent in front of her. And I don't know what the investigation is going to reveal and where this is going to go. But, if you are in the line of a car and vehicular assaults have been up, I think, how many thousands of a percent, since last year, and you feel that somebody is using their car as a weapon against you, I mean, you're going to act. And I don't understand why, if you are really trained in social activism, and may she rest in peace, this is not a criticism of her, but if we have individuals who are trained in social activism, then aren't they trained on the safety of social activism? Aren't they trained on what gives you the biggest, bang for your buck? And getting yourself killed is not successful social activism. Arguing with agents, gunning a car, and maybe her intent wasn't to run them over. Some people say, well, yeah, she wanted to get the hell out of there, so she didn't care if somebody was in front of her. I don't know. I haven't looked at the investigation. It's ongoing. But either way, you gunning away with your car in an area that you're not even supposed to be, when there's somebody in front of your car, and because she was resisting arrest, they told her to get out of the car. That's why the agents were moving closer to the car, because apparently, after hours of alleged activism, there was an issue that they asked her to get out of her car. The car was impeding an operation. Social activism can be done where you don't hurt you. I mean, look at Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was an activist. And she had every right to sit wherever she wanted on a bus. And our country undeniably was wrong and disgusting, and that they would seat individuals based on race. I can't believe, our country in modern era did stuff like this. But Rosa Parks was an activist, and she participated in social activism. And then finally, she was very successful in where she sat on the bus saying, very brave, saying, I'm not going. Now, I know the media made it look like this was her very first time. She was just trying to get home, with groceries, and she decided I had enough. But no. She was an activist, and she was a part of the cause. But she was very, very successful in the final act, and thank God she lived through it, where she's like, no, this is where I'm sitting. And she had every right to sit in the front of the bus. And she did that without threatening, without her. She sat there quietly, without calling people names, without obstructing a federal warrant or an operation. I mean, if you're really studying social activism, learn from Martin Luther King, learn from Rosa Parks, learn from, social activism has been a part of, the history since the dawn of man. And there's ways to do it. So if anybody is teaching a social activism class, I hope to God you're teaching not to do what Renee Good did. And you're seeing views where this guy, the officer, would have been run over. And obviously, if people are there to deal with cartel, and they're being thrown at yelled, and they're already under a very, very heightened stress state. You don't poke the bear. You don't make them think their life is in jeopardy. I told you, my grandfather was a cop. My father was in the military, and they said, look, if an officer ever says freeze, you freeze. Don't scratch your ass. Don't rub your nose, because they're in a heightened state and can shoot. You have to be able to understand that when it is that sort of a situation, just like anytime I get pulled over, and I got pulled over for speeding, I immediately put my hands on the wheel so they could see it. And they don't feel like they are in jeopardy, because I know that they may be quick to, if they think that there is a threat. Now, we shouldn't live in fear of law enforcement. So what our public officials should do is make sure protesters are away from operations. But that's not what's happening. It's you need to stand up and you need to fight, and they want more of this mayhem. This is a distraction against the Minnesota fraud. It's a distraction against the midterms. And they could say, look at the riots, look how historical it was. Now we have another entry in Wikipedia because of Trump. When, if you really want to save lives, if really Jacob Fry's motive is to save lives and protect his constituents, then say, guys, go over here, by the mall or by the whatever. This is where you get to do your protests, and then leave the area clear so you don't get hurt. But you don't see that. It's almost like they want people to get hurt again. So come on. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Dahlia. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our fantasy football pocket guide for beginners found on Amazon or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's fantasy football pocket guides for beginners. Don't be left out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99-799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.